Welcome to Coach's Corner, everybody. Thanks for watching the show, the podcast. I'm your host, Coach Tripp, along with our four-wheel drive segment here on Coach's Corner every Wednesday night. Billy Pendock to my left, great Syracuse defensive tackle, NFL, CFL guy. Blaze Winter, great defensive tackle with the four-wheel drive, along with Jamie Kimmel and Timmy Green. That makes up the Syracuse in the mid-'80s. You guys were all great players, all went on the NFL. Thanks for joining the podcast this week, guys.
No problem.
Right, Billy, our pleasure.
All right, boys, we got 5 traits of terrific teams. We're going to call it 6 because whenever you talk about terrific teams, discipline is the number one thing, and you started early. Okay, so let's go over the other 5 traits over the years, guys. I've been asked so many times, what characteristics does it take to have a championship team? And I've been members of losing teams, teams with losing records. I've also been blessed and lucky enough to experience undefeated high school teams, SEC championship teams, division winning teams in the pros. And all the great teams that I've been on, these 5 characteristics stood out after discipline. Well, number 1, togetherness. Number 2, intelligence. Number 3, toughness. Number 4, technique. And number 5, talent. Let's tackle togetherness. You have to have unity, a chemistry among the players. I would tell my players when I coach, my job is to love you guys. Your job is to love each other. And they have to love each other so much that they will not want to let each other down. Never point fingers. You never blame anybody else. You don't make excuses. You lift each other up and you encourage your teammate. An important part of doing things off the field helps. Exhibiting this trait allows teams to win when the bounce of the ball or the referee call goes against you. Now, you must be accountable to each other. When you have a cause bigger than yourself, that type of motivation is the most powerful tool there is. It's more powerful than money, sex, fame, awards, material things. Love is blind. And when you're in love, you put on those blinders. You put the other player's needs ahead of yours. This is the type of team that is tough to beat. Togetherness is the most important trait of them all, but maybe it's the hardest to instill. In order to get them to exhibit togetherness, you must spend time off the field with each other. They have to like each other, and that bonds them together in a unity that is powerful. They can do community service together, socialize with each other, go bowling. Another great way is to have training camp where the players spend all day, all night with each other, away from all their phones, girlfriends, computers, TVs, all that stuff. So togetherness is hard. They end up trusting each other. And folks, trusting is a part of our higher nature. Doubting is a lower instinct. The latter is easy to do, but the former is much more difficult, but oh so much more rewarding. All right, guys, let's talk about trusting each other and loving each other, that you don't want to, the Marines. Your daughter's a Marine, Billy. Never leave the other behind. That's what you want in the trenches. Billy, why don't you go ahead and talk about togetherness and being there for each other?
Let's we can shift this back to the four-wheel drive. And I think about back when we played and I've said it before a little bit about we were 4 guys that never knew each other when we came into high school or from high school to college and kind of bonded together on the field more than anything. It wasn't a case where we were hanging out all the time after practice or after games, but we had an understanding between the 4 of us that we had to play together on the field, and in that case, everybody would get ahead more if we did play together. And I think Blaze understands that a little more than all of us. So
Blaze.
Well, my thought is, I think you start the communication on the field. You start the communication in the drill. Everybody's watching one another. You're complete strangers on day one, and the only form of communication you're allowed on the field is by action. So verbal communication of, hey, buddy, how are you today, doesn't exist. So the first step you have is to cross that line and say, hey, man, I'm doing this drill. I'm doing this drill care. I'm doing this drill because it matters to me. And that radiates out to all your teammates. And, you know, this person cares the same way I do. I mean, if they're blinded by self, they won't see anybody else. If they're blinded by who they are and they have the mirror in their hand facing their own face, you won't see anybody else. This is a common problem with young players. Hey, did you see me? No, man. Who are you really watching? Right. And we have way too much conversation going on nowadays about I before we. And the fact of the matter is, O'Leary didn't have to say much when it came to togetherness because we were all watching one another. Everybody was watching. I was watching Timmy. I was watching, Jamie with his, athleticism. I was watching Billy with, oh my God, he's huge. He can lift up people with one arm. Mm-hmm. And you start to know how you're going to fit. And eventually at the dining hall, you might say something like, hey, man, how much you bench press? Where did you get those arms from? Bill, Tim, why are you always reading a book? And then you start to break the ice. And the only reason you're getting respect back from a teammate is they admire what you do on the field. And that conversation on the field is the most important conversation you can have to develop a long-term relationship. Everybody sees through somebody fake. Right. If there was somebody fake, Billy would have taken care of them. Jamie would have taken care of them. I would have. Tim would have. None of us wanted to tolerate bullshit. Right. Nobody wanted to. So the first form of communication to bring people together is the unspoken word of, hey, man, how are you going to go about this?
Wow. That's accountability to each other. That's right, man. Finding your fit within each other, communicating during and learning about each other. Let's face it. You guys, that four-wheel drive was like the island of misfit toys, island of misfit defensive linemen. You had such a diverse background, and that's a good transition into the next trait of terrific teams, intelligence. And the first thing you think of when you think of four-wheel drive is Timmy, the Phi Beta Kappa, Rhodes Scholar, author, always reading, just a brilliant, brilliant guy. So let's talk about that, and then I want your comments. The next trait is intelligence. Being smart allows you to win close games. When players are focused enough to pay attention to details and prepare with a purpose, your team will have the advantage. You know your opponent's weaknesses. You study them on film, their tendencies. It allows you to anticipate your opponent's next move, and you take advantage of that knowledge. The smart ball players are not exclusively kids with high GPAs. That's kind of a misconception. I've observed thousands of players over the last 40 years, and there are definitely, without a doubt, players that are football smart. They understand the nuances of the game. They read plays quickly. They recognize formations and movements and patterns and make adjustments faster than other players. They don't hesitate, because if you do, you're too late. I've seen players with C+ students in class that are A+ when it comes to football smarts, and vice versa. I've seen A+ students and sometimes average when it comes to understanding game situations. So, but Timmy might have been both. Talk about Timmy's brilliance on and off the football field.
You know, Paul, a lot of it with us four, and you can separate everybody with, as far as GPAs. Timmy had a 4.0, 4 years of school. I think, the other three of us were, I don't know, we were probably midline, maybe a little bit higher, maybe a little bit lower. But when you talk about intelligence on the field, a lot of it is due to fundamentals that were instilled in us during practices and film sessions. And as funny as that sounds, when you had to react to a situation when you played defensive line or defensive back or a linebacker, it came down to a lot of fundamental stuff. And as far as that goes, that was a lot of the intelligent part of how we played the game. And Blaze, go ahead.
Blaze, how smart was Timmy on? I know how everybody knows how smart he was off the field, but was there somebody that had? Did you have just great football smarts? Did Timmy have it?
The obvious here to me is, again, categories. You wanted to know about pure strength and development. You were going to the man right up there, Billy Pendot. You wanted to learn about, hey, playing strong, playing with amazing strength that brought you into the weight room. You would follow Billy, because we all did. I mean, we all pause and watch him on the bench. We all pause and watch him lift weights, and because he did it well and he did it with pride, and he came in way further along than any of us. So that was a form of intellect that you would observe someone and say, how'd you do this? And then they would share the information, or they would encourage a better result by doing it in a different way. And I remember Billy teaching me how to bench, and I was a horrible bencher. Remember, Billy?
Yeah.
He taught me how to bench, and the arc and the placement and the pause. I mean, the precision from this dude when it came to strength. If you want the classroom, dude, you go up to 72 and you say, hey, man, what do I do here?
Yeah.
How do I ABC this?
Right.
And you can turn a football field into an ABC classroom easily. And he was a master at that. I mean, look at him. He's not a huge man. And he went out to play in the NFL as a defensive tackle forever.
245. Yeah, 240.
What is going on? It is simply an example of using your mind over your body. And he was a master of that. On the other side, Jamie was, hey, man, how do you do that? How do you jump over people? How do you bend your hips down to that low of height? For me, I think it was just plain demonstrated persistence. When a dog gets hit over and over and over by, in this case, his father, he eventually gets up and wants to bite somebody. And for me, that was my role there, is to demonstrate, man, I'll teach you how to bite someone. I'll teach you how to push back. Because I wasn't going to take the bullshit from anybody else, because, hey, I had very little left to hold my head up high. And all this would bring about a pride, and O'Leary would feed it when it needed to be fed. He would poke it, right, Billy? He would poke it. He was always poking me. Why? He knew it would get a response. Yeah. It wouldn't get the same response from Billy, because Billy had been around him.
Right.
Billy had gone through own ordeals, but he was ready for a different phase. So, that's how I see it.
Yeah, that's good stuff, man. Intelligence. Each one had their own kind of intelligence that you guys all learned from. That's awesome stuff. All right. So togetherness will overcome bad luck games, and intelligence will win close games. When a team is overmatched, how about that? Say, for instance, you're playing a way more talented team. Well, I believe two more characteristics have to come in play when the other team's more talented: technique and toughness. Let's tackle toughness first, guys. Even as an underdog, you can win if you're mentally tough. Mental toughness enables you to ignore the minor hurts, the opponent's pressure, and the temporary failure. Physical toughness will make an opponent weaken. Mental toughness will make them crack. And I think that came from the great Vince Lombardi. So you must be physically and mentally tough. Okay, let's talk about toughness, and let's talk about how important that is in a team. Physical and mental toughness. Which one wants to tackle that first?
Go ahead, Billy.
Go ahead.
Well, hey, the way I see toughness is your leader, in this case, George O'Leary, you has to stand and play that role. He has to be fair. He has to be even. He has to be a person who demands technique, demands discipline, and he doesn't tolerate one bit from anyone. If he compromises and say, Billy, you're all right, but Blaze, I'm going to punish you, then there's all the wheels on the four-wheel drive come off the truck. They all come off.
Yeah.
But when you have a man who demands it and you have four guys open to it because their appetite is such, man, great things can really start to occur. And, the four-wheel drive was, toughness from birth, not necessarily. Babies aren't very tough. They want food, they want to be loved, but it takes a master. And that master was George O'Leary to bring about the allowance to beat the living hell out of somebody.
Right.
Because, right, Billy, you're not really allowed to beat the hell out of somebody when you walk down the street. So who's going to give you that allowance to cross that line of toughness? He gave us the allowance of beat the hell out of Marone. Drive him away. Beat him up. Drive him away. Get him to what? Grow up. And our job was a lot of times, wasn't it, Billy, to get people across the line and on the team to grow up, to become tough. And that was a tribute to George O'Leary.
Yeah, he was the toughest guy. Toughest guy I ever seen, man. He set the stone. He set the stage for us. Billy, talk about how tough those you guys were, and how you make each other accountable. But eventually you got to dig deep inside yourself and find something that you didn't realize that was there, like Coach Bryant used to tell us. I would have never made it. I would have never made it at Alabama if it wasn't for the toughness, mental and physical, that George O'Leary instilled in me. Billy, talk about the toughness of the four-wheel drive.
I was with Coach O'Leary for a long time, and and it all started back in high school for me. And I think if you don't start to work on mental toughness at a younger age, maybe a middle school, high school age, and then on up, you can't get a physical toughness behind you. So George, he made everything was kind of a mental and physical toughness test all the time. The time. It came with a consequence all the time. And I don't know about, I don't speak for Blaze, Timmy, or Jamie, and I remember my 4 years at Syracuse, and going into my senior year, I still had that fear of being put on offense or taken off the field. It didn't matter what you did the day before or the week before or the night before. It was a mental game all the time with Coach O'Leary. And you were always on edge. You were always worried about your situation. But then you draw back on that mental toughness, physical toughness. We didn't come off the field, Paul. We played 4 quarters. Wow. I went to a Syracuse game last year, and I watched these guys putting their hand on top of their head about every second or third play. And they're coming off the field, going back on the field. Let me tell you this, and I can tell you this with all honesty. If we came off the field, we didn't go back on it. and that was the way it was. And when you got back to the meetings on Sunday, you went from maybe first or second string down to third, fourth, maybe not even on defense anymore.
Wow.
I remember Blaze. I remember playing with Blaze. I remember I would go and talk to him after, because Blaze walks in the door, meets Coach O'Leary, and he goes, what the hell is going on here? I've never seen a guy like this. And I sit down with him and say, look, you're doing, everything's going, and Blaze was maybe second guessing himself first year, second year. By the third year, he was a whole new guy. I mean, I didn't have to say one word to Blaze junior, senior year. He was.
Oh my God, man! The mental toughness was off the chart.
You see what's happening here? What's happening here is a perfect storm of four guys coming together that if Billy and Tim did not have George, how do I behave to it? Do I break? Do I fall apart? I mean, it was real easy, right, Billy, to blow up and just say, I don't need this. I don't need this. I mean, why would – and if I didn't have the background – I mean, people say, I wish your background was different. Not me. Not me at all, man. I'm glad I have what I have.
Paulie, listen, what better way to get mental and physically tough than to do inside run 2 days a week with a camera over the top of you for an hour and a half live?
I can't believe an hour and a half. I can't believe you guys did that for an hour and a half.
Live. It was a live inside run. That means between the tackles, running the football, live. Blaze,
folks,
do you remember?
Hey, Billy, Trip, I'll tell you, it not only established a certain degree of success in my own life, this journey, but it helped me get over Frank Hush at Indianapolis.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about the days where there was no NFL buddy in with, you can't do this with the players. The coach would be in charge, and Frank Kush came from Arizona. He had a military background, and we went through 6 weeks of double sessions. 6. We were out of pads 3 days in 6 weeks of double sessions. I would have never made the NFL.
Now hold on.
George O'Leary, and Billy, and those guys.
Right.
Blake, do you remember we played in the game? I think I was a junior. We had a game. I ended up, back then, Paulie, inside when you played a 0-1 tech, you were getting double teamed every time. And it wasn't an upper body double team. It was from waist down double team. And it was all legal. And I got my ankle rolled up on. I don't know if it was broke or whatever. The thing was the size of a bowling ball.
Yeah.
Come Monday, I couldn't even barely put weight on it. I go out on the field with crutches. Coach O'Leary comes over to the trainer. This is a true story. Now, I don't know if Blake remembers this.
Yep, I do.
I'm in the trainer's ear. Next thing you know, the trainer takes me over to the 7-man sled, and I'm hitting the sled with the ice pack on my ankle. I can't even put weight on. And he's whispering in my ear, I go, Jesus Christ, I can't even stand on my freaking leg. What do you want me to do? He goes, just get it done. Coach O'Leary's watching. He wants to see how tough you are.
Oh, man.
Remember that? I think it was our junior year. It was our junior year.
Oh, Billy.
Folks, all you guys out there that are listening, Billy played for George O'Leary longer than any human on this earth. He played for him 3 years in high school and 4 in college. That's 7 years. Nobody walking this earth played longer for George O'Leary.
That's why he's so crazy.
Yeah, that's why he's so crazy.
Lost his mind.
All right, let's move on. Let's go to the 4th trait. It's technique. This allows the team to win. This allows the team to win, even without the most talent, because technique, and we mentioned it earlier in the show, and we've mentioned it in shows before, technique should be emphasized by every coach. Unfortunately, it's not. Teaching the proper technique is vital. Great technique can make up for a lack of talent. I call it the great equalizer. I learned from Coach Ryan and Coach O'Leary about technique. However, the assistant coaches do 90% of the technical teaching. The head coach has a lot of issues to deal with. They don't have a lot of hands-on teaching with the players. The assistant coaches, are really all the engine. The coaches, like the head coach, is like the driver of the machine. The position coaches teach the little things that make the big difference. The head coach manages game situations. The 5th trait is talent. Talent will give you a chance to win most of your games. However, talent alone will not suffice. It is the coach's job, and you guys talked about this, fitting certain talents in the right positions. The great coaches form a system around that talent. They don't force talent into their system. So let's recap. Togetherness, chance to win tough games. Do you have the love and the faith in your teammates and coaches? Number 2, intelligence, chance to win close games. Are you smart enough to prepare? Together, and toughness, this gives you a chance to win underdog games. Can you overcome the obstacles and overcome the mental toughness? Number 4, technique. It's a chance to win any game. Have you examined yourself and have you worked hard to learn your craft? And number 5, talent. Chance to win most games. You have the faith in your God-given ability. So altogether, these 5 traits give a chance to win every single game. Okay, now it's time for Bible Verse of the Week, brought to you by the Tyler Agency. This Bible verse comes from 2 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 5. Quote, examine yourself to see whether you are in the faith. Test yourselves, unquote. Yeah, you got to check yourself sometimes when you go through these. But talk about technique and talk about technique, talent.
Paulie, you ought to direct this topic, the technique topic, to all those modified and Pop Warner coaches, because let me tell you, watching these kids now, they are not learning anything from these young coaches.
It is a joke.
It's an absolute joke out there. It's all these guys do is watch Madden and play Madden. I don't even know what the hell that is. I've heard of it, but you know, you're not preparing these kids to go on to the next level by running shotgun plays, throwing the ball over the field all the time. Technique is vital to a successful kid, a successful program, and giving a kid a head start. And that was one thing, and I go back to this over and over with you. We've talked about it every week. That's all Coach was working on. We would go out on the field. We had 4 guys that were all Americans, man. And we would spend a half hour to 45 minutes on technique every day through our 4 years.
Yes.
Every day. And I talked about base defense. If you're running a base defense 85% of the time, you have to know technique. And my biggest problem and bitch with youth football is these coaches are not teaching these kids anything to help them move on in their life with football.
Amen.
Yeah, Blaze, expound on that. Expound on that lack of technique.
Hey, look, I spent 20 plus years working with Glazier, and they would have me come in to do a clinic in the off season, and coaches would come by the hundreds, and they finally figured me out why. They want the X's and the O's. Yeah. Everybody wants to out-scheme everybody, but yet again, nobody knows how to do footwork, handwork. I'm the best hand combat guy in the nation, and I mastered 5 disciplines in over 40 years, and I can't get the same attention because we don't have the time. We're running through plays. It's a joke. It is an absolute joke what has happened to the idea that if you want to be successful, don't worry about technique. What a joke, right, Billy?
Yeah. Exactly. I don't understand it. Go ahead, Billy.
Listen, I coached a lot of kids. I coached both the strength training and football. And I get kids that are high school age kids, 16, 17. They've been playing for 8, 10 years. They don't even know how to get in the stance anymore. They don't know what a 6-inch step is. They don't know any of that stuff. I mean, you're getting these kids at 17 years old that don't know, and that's the foundation of an offensive or defensive lineman, is getting in the proper stance. That's technique. It's fundamentals.
Right.
It's something that should be taught at 9, 10, 11 years old.
Right. Yeah, you're right. We need to have youth symposium on these coaches. Forget about the X's and O's. My God, at Liverpool, I think we scored 340 points and gave up 25 the whole year. Think about that. Yeah. And we didn't run but 4 or 5 plays. That's it. 4 or 5 plays. The other team knew what was coming. They knew the play, but they couldn't stop it.
Let me say one thing. The few that are doing it right, God bless you, keep doing it, because it means the player has a chance at a higher level. The ones that are not doing it to the high school kid or the youth kid, and they go to Alabama and they disappear, is because they don't have the fundamentals, they don't have the technique to get through the day-to-day war.
That's exactly, his point is exactly what's going on here in New York State. These kids, and I'm watching this stuff, these kids are coming out of high school here and they're disappearing all the time because all they do here is blitz and run this stuff that they want. It's an easy way around teaching kids the fundamentals of football and technique of football.
Yeah, there's not enough individual periods. Billy, you talked about running a drill for an hour and a half. Now, even if you exaggerated for a half an hour of inside drill is insane. It's all technique. They don't do that anymore. They cannot. I don't know why. It's just frustrating.
Two-hand touch. Pretty stuff. Hey, how many times do we have blitzes in 4 years? Almost zero. Almost zero.
I told you.
Played on top of 4 of us.
People listen think I'm kidding. We ran a base defense. That means for people that don't understand, everybody controlled their gap responsibility, and there was no tricks up front. It was man up, and that came. That doesn't happen if you don't spend hours and hours on film work, fundamentals, technique, and that don't happen.
Individual periods are disappearing in the practice schedules. I always fought for a half an hour individual period with my head coaches. Come on, man! I got to have indie period today. I know it's Thursday, or Wednesday. I got to have individual periods. It's a battle. Hey guys,
all teams they want to throw the ball around. Everybody wants to run around and stand up and run around. That's the way. That's why. I don't watch pro football at all anymore. Nothing. Zero. I don't watch anything. I think it's a joke. I think it's like a game out there. It's more dancing and it's celebrating. They're showing pictures of the stands with this girl and that girl. Yeah. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
Hey guys. Great job, guys. Great job, man. Another killer show.
Lazy.
Appreciate you, brother. Guys. Man, you guys
are fun. Good to see you again, Blazy.
Hey, it's always great to see you, brother. I love you.
Guys. Take care. Hey, Blazy, next time you come to town, make sure your wife comes. I want to say hi to her.
No, it's not happening.
I'm not bringing my Angie either.
Stay away, Billy.
I want to. Paulie, before you hang up, Paulie, I just want to say hi to Angie, Blaze's wife. I give my best. Love it.
Oh, you crazy bastard.
It's all right. We'll get the Angies after him.
We'll
get him, man. Yeah, we'll get him. We'll get him up there. All right, guys. Have a great week, man. Thanks for a great show. Appreciate you guys. Here at Courts' Corner, we try to inspire and educate the mind to think, the heart to feel, and the body to act. Thanks, guys.
No problem, Paulie. Take care. Stay healthy,
man. Thank you,
guys.
All right, bye-bye.
Another great show, 4-wheel drive. Thanks for watching, man. 5 traits to a terrific team. We went through it in detail. Discipline, of course, is number 1, so I guess you could say it was 6. But, hey, thanks for watching. Have a great night and have a great sports night. We will talk to you soon. So long.
There's a reason why Hill Kelly in Pensacola is the #1 selling Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram dealer between Jacksonville and New Orleans. While other dealers have taken advantage of a competitive market with higher prices, Hill Kelly has discounted prices to the lowest of the year. And Hill Kelly in Pensacola won't surprise you with excessive charges beyond the selling price. Come see why people from Milton, Pace, Foley, Bay Minette, Daphne, Gulf Shores, Mobile, and beyond are driving to Hill Kelly in Pensacola to buy their next new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, or Ram. At Hill Kelly, the bottom line price and your satisfaction are what really matter. So before you sign, check the bottom line and make the trip to Hill Kelly in Pensacola to see what true local ownership can do for you. At Hill Kelly Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Highway 29 in Car City, Pensacola. Or shop online 24/7 at hillkellydodge.com. When it comes to bottom line pricing, nobody beats a Hill Kelly deal. Nobody.
75 years of service and high tech today. It's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348. High tech is a term often applied to advanced services and products in today's marketplace. And today, glass is much more than the simple painted brittle, see-through stuff we hit baseballs through when we were kids. Glass is now a product with unique flexibility in both performance and application. And Pensacola Glass Company is growing right along. That's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348.
Over 30 years, you have seen the orange Beck signs all over the Gulf Coast listing a property for sale or lease. Beck Partners is your trusted advisor in commercial real estate, property management, commercial and personal insurance. Senior Vice President David Valletto has been with Beck Partners since 1989. Take advantage of his wealth of knowledge by calling him today at 982-7352. 982-7352. Extensive experience in all aspects of leasing, sales, management, and site selection will make sure your expectations are exceeded. Are you riding around in a filthy vehicle? Dirty car no more. Visit Ronnie's Car Wash today to get it shining in no time. They have 3 convenient locations with another coming soon. The unlimited monthly wash packages start as low as $14.95 per month with free vacuums, multi-purpose spray and towels. Visit them in Gulf Breeze, Navarre, Fort Walton, and soon Crestview. Don't wait, wash today. Be sure to see Ronnie's Car Wash on Facebook to see the latest specials and discounts. You'll be riding and shining in no time.
That's you trying to fix the plumbing yourself to save a few bucks. Doing things yourself doesn't always end well. The same goes for insurance. That's why Auto Owners works with local independent agents who tailor coverage to meet your needs and offer discounts for life, home, car, and business insurance. Because sometimes you need a professional to get the job done right. That's simple human sense.
Drive a little to save a lot on 170 Buicks and GMCs at Step 1 Buick GMC. Get savings up to $4,000 on new Buick Encores, $9,450 on new Buick Envisions, $7,000 on new GMC Yukon XLs, or up to $15,345 off on new Sierras. Only at Step 1 Buick GMC, Pensacola. Plus tax, tag, title, license, dealer processing fee expires 7/31/24 on select new 24 in-stock models. Discount off MSRP includes all incentives.